Hello, I'm Gail, and I'm 31 years old. I was married to Drake, who's 32 years old. I say was because we recently got divorced, and I want to tell you why. I met Drake when we were in college. We happened to have a lot of mutual friends, and we got to talking. I fell in love with him almost instantly. He was a gorgeous man with the best sense of humour. He liked me enough to ask me out, and the rest is history. We got married a little after we graduated. I would say that we had a pretty good relationship. We did have our ups and downs, but we always worked through our problems. We got along well with each other's families as well. I mean, Drake's family lived across the country, but when I did meet them, it was great. I only have a mum and a younger sister, Wendy. Drake and my mum got along really well, but for some reason, he just couldn't get along with Wendy. And it was a mutual thing because she never failed to tell me how much she hated him. I wish I could tell you there was a reason for this mutual hatred, but they quite literally took one look at each other and decided they didn't like each other. I didn't like it and tried to get both of them to talk for the longest time, but neither of them budged. It did bother me for a while, but eventually I figured as long as it wasn't hurting my relationship with each of them, it wasn't my problem. And then one day, out of nowhere, Drake and Wendy began getting along fine. Drake would seem excited every time I told him that Wendy would be there when we went over for dinner at my mum's. The two of them had a ton of inside jokes and were very touchy. I was surprised and a little uncomfortable, but I let it be because I was glad that their hatred for each other was gone. One day, I happened to return from work earlier. I was excited to be returning early, so I stopped by the grocery store to pick up some ingredients to make Drake his favourite meal to surprise him. We'd been having a great month, and I just wanted to do something really nice. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw my sister's car. I was confused because she didn't tell me she was coming over. I just figured she wanted to hang out. I got even more excited that she was over. I mean, we just started getting closer, and I loved spending time with her again. But when I entered the house, I heard sounds coming from our bedroom. I walked around the house and didn't see either my husband or my sister. I felt my heart drop. I slowly and carefully approached my bedroom. My heart was pounding because if what I thought was happening behind those doors was true, I didn't know how I was going to react. I had my phone in my hand in case I did catch something happening. Even though my heart was racing, I was surprisingly numb emotionally. Now, when I think back about it, I should have been a mess, but I was actually pretty well prepared for the worst-case scenario. Anyways, I slowly opened the door, and of course, there were Drake and Wendy in my bed sleeping together. I wish I could say that I felt broken and hurt at that moment, but really, all I felt was nothing. I guess I was just too anxious to feel anything. I grabbed my phone and turned the camera on. I cleared my throat so they would know that I was there. They heard me and turned to look at me with wide eyes. I began recording the whole thing while they began scrambling to get the blankets on to cover themselves. "Honey, what are you doing home so early?" "Oh, you know, I got off work early, so I thought I'd make your favourite meal, but I guess that plan is out the window." "Tell me, what are you guys doing? Are you recording us?" "Oh yes, I think Paul would really love to see his girlfriend banging her brother-in-law." "Babe, please, don't do that. Can we just talk about it?" "Absolutely not. So is this why you guys suddenly began to like each other? Because you've been sleeping around?" "Yeah." "Please, please don't tell Paul. I'll do anything." So how did this begin? "Well, we both happened to be at this bar at the same time. I had some work and she was there with friends, and one thing led to another." "Wow! You guys disgust me. I'll have the divorce papers ready soon. Get out of my house and my life. I'll be back in a couple of hours, and I don't want either of you here." "Gail, please, please don't tell Paul. I found the ring he was going to propose to me with. It'll break his heart." "You should be ashamed of yourself. Paul doesn't deserve someone like you. If you tell him in the next few hours, you can be the one to break him, but I am telling him regardless." With that, I walked out of the room and made my way out of the house. I got into my car and drove to the nearest Walmart. I parked my car and just sat there. I then pulled out my phone and sent Paul the video along with an explanation of how I caught them. I switched my phone off and just stared at nothing in front of me. Finally, the emotions that had been missing while I found out about everything came crashing down on me. Before I knew it, I was sobbing. I clutched my chest as I sobbed because it really did feel like my heart was breaking. In just one day, I lost my husband and my sister. A part of me felt stupid for not noticing the signs. I should have known there was something weird about Drake's intense dislike for Wendy, and that it was even weirder when this dislike suddenly disappeared. I had also caught them giving each other these looks in secret, but I just thought nothing of it. Maybe if I had paid attention to the sides, I could have done something, but then again, even if I did, I would still have been the one that got hurt. When I calmed down a little, I just drove around for a while. I got some fast food and parked somewhere and just gorged on food. I ate until I felt as disgusting as I felt on the inside. I then drove around a little more. I had nothing going through my head and I was grateful for it. Eventually, 4 hours had passed. I drove back home and I was very happy that I saw neither Drake's nor Wendy's car. I knew that if I saw them, I'd have punched them both. Once I got inside the house, the first thing I did was race into the bedroom and switch the mattress with the one in our guest room. I changed the bedding and deep cleaned the room. I packed all of Drake's stuff and kept them in the guest room. I was so grateful that the house was in my name because at least I didn't have to live in any uncertainty. I then took a long, relaxing bath, and when I felt like I had thoroughly cleaned myself, I cooked myself dinner. I watched TV for a while and also gorged on ice cream until I was done with an entire tub of it. I ended up falling asleep on the couch. The next day, I took off from work. I informed my boss about what was going on, and he was sympathetic enough to give me the week off. I finally remembered that my phone was switched off, so I switched it back on. I was greeted with 20 missed calls from my sister and 15 from Drake, along with a flood of messages from both of them. I didn't care for much of it because I needed to see if Paul saw my texts. He did, and all he replied was a thank you. I was confused about his reaction, so I looked into Wendy's texts. That's when I found out that Paul had broken up with her. Wendy spammed me with messages asking if I was happy with myself for ruining her relationship and letting me know that I was the worst sister. I didn't know what world of delusion she lived in, but she was the one who did this to herself. Drake also yelled at me over text for doing that to Wendy. I blocked them, but then my mum called me. What did you do to Wendy? Huh? Why did you meddle in their relationship? Poor Wendy's been crying since last night. So you didn't want me to tell Paul that she was cheating on him? Yes. Why would you lie like that? Lie? Why the hell would I lie? You didn't. That's what Wendy told me. Did she tell you that I told Paul that she was cheating on him with Drake because that's the truth? What? Are you serious? Yeah. I came back home early yesterday and caught them. I'm divorcing Drake, obviously, and I really want nothing to do with Wendy. Oh no, honey, I'm so sorry I called to yell at you. I'll make sure to give Wendy a piece of my mind, don't worry. I honestly can't bring myself to care about what happens to her. Don't bother doing or saying anything unless you want to. If you need anything, just okay? I don't think I need anything. Are you home alone? Yeah. Alright, I'll come stay with you for a while. Mum, there's no need for it. I'm not listening to anything you say. My daughter's going through something horrible, and I'm going to be there for her. Even though I complained to her, I was secretly grateful that my mum would be spending some time with me. Maybe, if she was there, I would feel less lonely. And maybe even be able to process my grief properly. My mum was over in 2 hours. She brought over a ton of stuff for us to eat and deal with everything. My mum has always been my best friend, and I was so grateful she was there. Mum told me that Wendy was over the other night and she was crying about me breaking up her relationship. I couldn't help but feel angry. My sister had some audacity to ruin my relationship, and then go complain to Mum about me doing that to her? How dare she try to villainize me when she was the one who started it? Mum was equally as angry, but she never called Wendy to check in on her. She said that Wendy should suffer all by herself and talking to her won't hurt as much as having no one to talk to. The next week was great. I got to spend a lot of quality time with my mum. We went out to do some shopping and we spent a lot of our time making these gourmet meals as we sipped on wine. My mum even got me to invite some of my friends over so we could have a girls' day in. The pain was still fresh, but having my mind taken off of it helped a lot. But at night, when I was alone in my room, the hurt of it all would come crushing down on me. I would cry myself to sleep because I would be hurting from loneliness. I couldn't help but wonder what I was missing for Drake to go after my sister. Was I not pretty enough? Young enough? Good enough? I thought we were having a great 3 months. We hadn't had a fight at all. I thought it was because we were getting closer as a couple. But it turned out it was because another woman was making Drake happy. And my sister? She and I only just started to bond even more. We had always been close growing up, but then I moved to a different place to start college and adult life happened. We weren't as close together. Even when I moved back to our hometown, we didn't meet each other much, but when she started making an effort recently, I really thought that she wanted to spend time with me. She was only there for my husband. Over the next few months, though, I started to feel a lot better. My mum accompanied me as I filed for a divorce. She was there with me when I went to deliver the divorce papers to Drake at his friend's place. It hurt to see him again, but I knew that it was needed if I wanted him out of my life for good. I didn't tell my mum, but out of the corner of my eyes I saw Wendy's jacket on the couch. I realised that they were still seeing each other and I wanted to throw a fit. Where would that have gotten me? I began to heal, though. There were still a lot of times that I would feel a surge of anger, but I learned to calm it down. I thought I was getting better until one day, while scrolling through social media, I happened to come across a post that a mutual friend had posted. The post was a picture of Wendy and Drake, where Drake was down on one knee proposing to Wendy. It felt like a real punch in the gut. I couldn't believe how heartless these two were to get engaged literally 4 months after Drake and I got divorced. About the same time I saw the post, Paul did too, because he sent me a screenshot of it. When he saw that I had read the message, he called me. "Hey, Gail." "Hey, I just saw the post too. Can't believe this." "Neither can I. I was going to marry this girl. You know, she was the one that kept postponing getting married. We've been together since high school, for crying out loud. I wanted to get married right after we graduated college, but she didn't want to. To see her get engaged to Drake after, 6 or 7 months together? Yeah, that stings." "Yeah, I can imagine. Drake and I were together for almost 10 years, and to see him move on so easily hurts. I just feel so angry, you know?" "Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Sometimes I want to go up to them and just yell at them, but I'd just be embarrassing myself. Those two have no conscience." "Well, you know what would embarrass them? A wedding gone wrong." "What do you mean?" "How about we get started on revenge against them? Let's sabotage their wedding." "You know what? That's a brilliant idea." "I don't think we'd get invites." "How about your mum? Does she know the truth?" "She does, but I also know that she hasn't spoken to Wendy since she found out." "Well, we can try to have her in on it too. She can help us get in." "All right, I'll talk to her." I was actually excited to get some revenge on Drake and Wendy. All this hurt and anger that I had in my heart could finally go away once I saw the look of humiliation on their faces. I wanted their one good thing to be ruined just the way they ruined my one good thing. I called my mum up after I got off a call with Paul. "Hey, honey, is everything okay?" "Kind of." "So I don't know if you know about this as of yet, but, Drake and Wendy are getting married." "What?" "That was not how I raised Wendy! Oh my god! Are you okay?" "Not really. I'm really angry and hurt, and apparently so is Paul." "Paul?" "Yeah, he found out at the same time as me, and we got on a call. We decided that we wanted to ruin their wedding. Under any other circumstance, I would have been against this, but you know what? Go for it." "Yeah, so I was wondering if you'd be able to help us out." "Of course I will, but how do you want me to help you out?" "First of all, have you been speaking to Wendy?" "Nope, I haven't spoken to her since you told me about everything." "Great. then chances are she thinks you don't know about the truth. She could send you an invite. Do you want me to RSVP a yes? That's up to you. We just need the time and location. Paul and I plan to crash the wedding and cause a lot of chaos. I'm definitely RSVPing a yes. I want to see this happen. The excitement only grew. I was glad my mum was on board. Then again, she was there with me when I was at my worst, and I was sure I was doing much worse than Wendy when she came over to my mum's crying about Paul breaking up with her. My suspicions about Wendy thinking Mum didn't know the truth were right. A week later, Wendy sent Mum an invitation to the wedding, which was happening the next month. My mum acted surprised and asked her how she was getting married to my ex-husband, and she told Mum that the two of them happened to get talking after the divorce and just clicked. She told Mum that she wasn't inviting me because I ruined her previous relationship. Anyway, they were having the wedding at a local church. How ironic that they were two adulterers getting married in a holy place. Anyway, Paul and I met up a few times to try and figure things out. I asked my mum to ask Wendy if she could be more proactive in the wedding planning, and of course Wendy was on board with it. My mum insisted on being in charge of having the church ceremony set up and well handled. Apparently Wendy was more than happy to have someone else take the load off her shoulders. Imagine not even wanting to put effort into your wedding. Paul, my mum, and I couldn't help but laugh at them. The church had a projector and a screen that was going to be used to project a picture of the couple. We were also going to use that projector to show everyone the video I had recorded. From conversations with Wendy, Mum found out that most of the guests were going to be Wendy and Drake's friends with very little family involved, so they did know what they were doing was shameful, but they just didn't care enough. Finally, the day of the wedding came. Paul and I were dressed to the nines. We sat in the car that we parked outside the church. We waited until Mum texted me to walk inside. We wanted to destroy their wedding, and we were not going to sit outside while it happened. The video was set to play during their vows. While Wendy was walking down the aisle and everybody was standing up, Mum texted Paul and me to walk in. We blended in with the standing crowd and managed to find seats in the back. We then waited for the couple to start saying their vows. Their vows were all about always going to love each other and be faithful to each other, and honestly, that just made me irrationally angry. But I didn't even need to get up and say anything, because right after they were done with their vows, the church hall started blaring the sound from the video. Everyone's eyes were immediately drawn to the projector screen. Drake and Wendy looked like they had seen ghosts. All the guests watched the video with absolute horror and began murmuring between themselves. Meanwhile, Wendy looked like she was about to cry while Drake looked angry. Once the video was done, Paul and I got up from our place and walked over to the pulpit. Hello everyone, I'm sure you're wondering who we are. Well, I was Wendy's boyfriend. We were together for 9 years and only broke up 4 months ago because, well, you saw why. And I'm Drake's ex-wife, the woman who caught them. Drake and I were together for 10 years until I caught him cheating on me with my sister. That's right, Wendy is my sister. Now, I know we seem like attention seekers, but come on, did you hear the vows they made to each other? They vowed to be faithful to each other, and yet here they are getting into a relationship that began because of adultery. Since they had the kind of audacity to share their unholy union with everyone here, we figured it would be best for everyone to know that this marriage even came to be. I feel like it's also important for you to know that Wendy and Drake took it upon themselves to blame me for Wendy's relationship with Paul ending because I sent him the evidence of her cheating. Just take a quick look at the screen here, and you will see messages they sent me the day after I found them sleeping together. Wendy was always someone who wasn't big on marriage, which was why we didn't get married. She knew I was going to propose when she finally told me she was comfortable with the idea of marriage, and the first thing she did was cheat on me. Well, at least these two had an enemies to lovers story. They hated each other's guts until one day they slept together, and then, while I was right there with them, I'd see them make eyes at each other and secretly touch each other. Anyways, I think that's about it. Yeah, thanks for listening. Also, Wendy, Mum wants you to stop contacting her. Goodbye. With that, Paul, Mum and I walked out. I heard Wendy sob loudly as Drake tried to get the audience to quieten down. I felt a rush of adrenaline after doing that. I felt vindicated. Once we got out, the three of us bursted out laughing really hard. It felt good to not feel angry anymore. I found out through some friends later that a lot of the guests walked out after us, and the few that stayed didn't make it to the reception. None of Wendy's friends knew about any of this, so when they found out, they didn't want to have anything to do with her. Drake's family, who were not invited, came to know about it and disowned him. In the end, both of them had karma come back for them. Meanwhile, Paul and I were the ones that dodged 2 huge bullets. My mum and I became a lot closer, and life has slowly been going back to what it always was. I can't wait to heal fully and live my best life.